All right. All right. Here we are. We made it. We made it.
Yes. Yes. Hello, everyone.
How are you doing today?
Oh, well, I guess I could have been better. I mean, sorry, folks. That's my fault that we are 20 minutes late because I went to take a nap, and that was a very sweet nap.
Because it's
So,
very late for you. Like you're doing this after hours. You've already had a long day of work. So
yeah.
I
So,
get
well,
it.
I'm used to taking a nap during the day. I don't know why. Well, maybe because I just work too much, and then I have like a rest for 30 minutes, and then I'm just fresh as a daisy. I don't know, and then I continue working.
That's like naps are good. If we learn nothing else today, naps are good. But yeah, it's okay. We were here. Our folks are here. We got a nice little crew already. My reminder: when you come to our house for dinner, if you leave hungry, that's your fault. If you've got questions, you don't ask them. That's your fault. Ask your questions. Say hi. My mom and dad are always watching. Say hi. Let us know where you're joining from because they like to see that stuff. Yes, the
Yeah.
power nap. See, yeah, we know this. Simon's here. Yes, SBOMs getting more love. Like these are an important part of what we do.
Oh,
How have you been though? It's been a long time since we've seen you, and
yes.
everything is good. You're
A
cranking out new
month,
content.
I guess, or something.
Well, I've
Yeah.
been traveling for a month and a half, so it's been at
Yeah.
least that long.
I think you were quite busy, right?
Yes,
So
yes. I'm still traveling. I'm still on the road.
still on the road. Oh my god! And when do you get
Yes.
home?
Friday. Friday, I'll be back at the desk.
Finally, yeah,
Yes.
finally. That's. I think that's. Well, not hard, but that's quite an interesting life. So you travel a lot, I guess, right? During the
Well, this
year.
this is different. So this is a working. I got my kids and stuff. We're out of the beach, but I'm still working. But I'm still on the road, so I don't have all of my tools and stuff. And yeah, so it was travel for work, away from the family for a month, and then I have girls that they cheerleading, so we went to a cheerleading competition that was away.
Oh,
And then while we were away, we said, hey, let's hang out a little bit. So we took a couple of extra days, and yeah, and now I'm just working remote.
that's nice.
I have the whole family.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paris is here, says, thanks for this live. I'm new to Spring Boot. Is this live for beginners? Yes. Yeah, we'll keep it nice and easy. And if you got questions, if anything goes above your head, ask questions. We can stop and we can reset and make sure everybody's following along.
Yeah. Yeah.
Germany.
So. Oh,
About to take a power nap, but now I have something to stay up for.
oh, thank you.
Wonderful.
Right. That's so wonderful. Well, actually, Rashawn, fingers crossed, I'll see you in person at Spring IO in May.
I'm not going
So,
to be at Spring IO in May.
no,
I'm not going to
no.
be at Spring IO. The rest of the team will be there, but I'm not going to be there. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm going to
Everything's
cry
great.
now.
Everything's great over here on the spring team. We gotta make sure that everybody gets to go. There's going to be a lot of. I think I can say this. There's going to be a
Oh,
lot of spring team there. There's going to be a lot of people from the spring team, so it's going to be a really, really good spring AL. Probably the best ever, if I was to guess. So it'll be okay.
I don't think it's going to be the best ever because you're not going to be there. It's not the
Well,
same like you.
I'm sure the rest of the team is going to bring their best, and yeah, it'll be wonderful. It will be a good conference.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, I'm looking forward to it because I'm a speaker there. So I'm
Yay.
going to talk. And that is so exciting because that's my first talk, actually. I mean, live, right? Offline. So online, that's I have some experience, but offline, that's my first talk. And so me and Pasha, we are going to give this joint session on Spring Boot startup time reduction. And well, spoiler alert, we have something we have prepared, something very interesting and very exciting, very original. I mean,
Wonderful.
if I'm going to make it, if I am to make it, then that's going to be very memorable, I think, for everyone. Right,
Wonderful.
so
Well, what are we going to learn today?
So yeah, today we have gathered here right today to talk about software bill of materials and vulnerability scanners. And a software bill of materials has usually been the topic that was not quite important for developers, right? So because we write our code, then we send it down the pipeline, and what happens next? Well, that's not quite our issue, right? And an SBOM is something now that is becoming more and more relevant, right? And it is something that is the concern of everybody,
What
right?
does
So,
SBOM stand for again?
right. So an SBOM, sorry, right? An SBOM is a software bill of materials.
Okay.
Right. So imagine you want to I don't know, buy some product like I don't know, a cake, for instance, right? A cake, and you see a nice, beautiful cake at the shop, and you look at that, and there is no food ingredient label. I mean, it's just some cake. Would you buy it? Well, probably not.
I usually like to know what I'm eating,
Yeah,
at least.
because well, things happen, right? So we you want to be more conscious of what we eat, and we might have some allergies, right? Sometimes, and we need to see the list of ingredients. Just like me, I have celiac disease, so I'm not best friends with gluten, and that is very important for me always to read the ingredient list, because sometimes the wheat flour is added to extraordinary places where you won't expect it, like ketchup or I don't know, whatever, like some sausage. And so I always read the list, and because I have to know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, if you might produce not so high quality stuff, right? But you have to put all the ingredients on the list, right? Everything that you have used, or
Yep.
else you might get sued. So a software bill of materials is like this list of ingredients for a software product, right? So and it's not about disclosing the source code. No, it's about listing all the components that took part in building this piece of software, right? All the dependencies or the build components, if you're building a jar file or a container image. So we are listing them, and we are specifying the name of the component, the version, well, at least, right, as a minimum, and some other necessary information, like, so for instance, the licensing, the license.
I
So
like that metaphor, the ingredients. I like that metaphor for a software bill of materials. That is a good one. And I could take it even further in that sometimes milk expires. When you buy that cake, it'll say eat before, right? Best buy, like,
exactly.
eat it before this date. With software, we don't really get that expiration. Hey, the software expires. That comes later, right? When there's a new CVE or something says, hey, we've got a new version. And when there's a new version, that means, hey, you should upgrade. Grab the new one. So I like that metaphor.
Yeah, so
Ingredients.
exactly, and of course you provide the version of your own software, right? That's the whole software product. What is the version? The name of the developer, right? The vendor, and some other essential information. Of course, the customer or the user can make an informed decision whether to use this software product or not, right? And well, actually, it's not only about listing the dependencies, right? It's not only the list, because the list is that's we wouldn't bother, right? But it's not only about the list. It's about revealing, right, the possible rotten ingredients, right, in this list of ingredients.
Yep.
So yeah, so we most of the projects use open source libraries, right? And a lot of open source libraries as dependencies, which is totally fine, which is totally great. I love open source. Open source is our best friend, right? We all love open source. But the problem with the open source is that you can't always control, right, the whole process. So you use some library that you liked, that the developer liked, that was useful, but this library might have been abandoned some time ago, right? So, and the most recent version is 2017, right? Or this library might not be updated regularly, right? So there might be some known issues, CVEs, right? So vulnerabilities. And well, the developer doesn't update the library for some reason, right? So maybe he or she, or they don't really care about that, or they are just super overworked, right? So we know the cases when there is a super important library, open source library, that is maintained by one developer or two, right?
Happens all the time. Happens all the time.
That happens
I
all the
think
time.
people would be surprised to know how few committers there are on the Spring ecosystem, right? There's tons of contributors, but for the people that are kind of maintaining it day to day, working on the release trains, not a big group. It's a really small number of people. Yeah, there's tons of libraries that everybody uses all the time that are pulled in to all other libraries. So that's the other piece here. It's not just the ones that you know about that you pull in, it's all the things that those libraries pull in, right? We're in this mode of we're assembling software more than we're creating it all the way down. We're pulling parts off the shelf. We're pulling ingredients off the shelf, and we're making this, this tree, this bill of materials. That's huge. And there's a question here is from Kumar. He says, we can generate SBOMs with today's tooling. The challenge is being able to use them and derive meaningful benefit of having thousands of SBOMs. Any thoughts?
Well, what do you actually mean by having 1,000 of SBOMs?
So
you have one product, right? And you generate an SBOM for it with all the list of dependencies, right? And if there are some additional SBOMs, so and you add this information too, because for instance, you're building a Java project, right? And you're using a Java runtime. And you don't build the Java runtime from source code. Well, usually, right? You get it from the vendor, like for instance, Liberica JDK or Oracle or Azure, any Java runtime that you are used to, right? Using, and then this vendor, if this vendor provides the SBOM for this Java runtime, right? You can add it to the itinerary, right? So you have the SBOM for your component, for your software product, and then you have the SBOMs for complex software products like Java, right? With their list. So yeah, you just
these SBOMs, just to add a little bit, there's lots of tooling around it. There's tons of tools that you can go and buy that'll say, hey, yeah, we want to capture all of your SBOMs, and then we'll do the analytics for you. We'll tell you where dependencies are used the most. We'll tell you where things are out of support, etc. But even as a developer, you can take these software build materials and you could throw those into a graph database. You know, I'm a big fan of Redis, where I just kind of pull in that SBOM and I throw it into a Redis database. Then when I get a CVE, first of all, I got a catalog of all the dependencies that I'm using across my entire enterprise. That's great. And it could just be a set, right? I could just collect those SBOMs continuously and throw them into a set so that, hey, I've got a list of all the dependencies and their versions that I use across my system. Then when a new CVE drops, I can look, hey, am I affected by this CVE? I go look at my list. Hey, oh, that version, I am affected. Well, with those SBOMs, then I know where I need to go and make changes. I know which software is affected by that CVE. That's the big thing, but it doesn't have to be more complex than that. It can be have a collection of SBOMs. It can be have a list or set of all the dependencies and the versions that you have, and then just watch for those CVEs. Make sure that you're staying up to date. There's a good follow-up question here. There's 0 low CVE images like the ones from ChainGuard. When using Docker files, we can apply some policy to pull only those images. How can we do that same thing when using Buildpacks?
That's
you can use those same Buildpacks. Buildpacks have the same policies, and you can do the exact same thing with the images that you create with Buildpacks.
Yeah,
Buildpacks
so
also have that same low
Exactly.
CVE count, and they're being maintained and delivered. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and the benefit of Buildpacks is that they always use the latest version of software or Java, right, or Linux. So when you rebuild your container image, the latest version of software is used, Linux or Java or whatever Buildpack is taking part in building the image, and that's why you stand on the up-to-date software without actually doing it manually, right? So with Dockerfile, you either point to the latest tag, right? So in your Docker file, then every time you build the image, the latest image version is used. But if you are tied to the exact version of software, right, you have to update these manually, right, every time. And with build packs, you don't have this problem, right? So, well, yeah, the chain guards are doing a cool thing, right? And we are doing the. I'm sorry, Darshan, can you hear me?
No. Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
You just. I thought well, so maybe. Right. So with Bellsoft, we have the same thing. We have Alpaquita Linux, and it has the goal of Alpaquita Linux is to provide Linux distribution, a minimal Linux distribution with a 0 CVEs, right? So if you point to the latest image version in a Docker file, if you use Docker file, right? So you always use the latest version of Alpaquita with the patched CVEs, and you can also use another builder in Buildpacks, right? So there are different builders. So right now, for instance, Spring Boot uses Spring Boot Tiny to run the image, right? And you can choose something else if you wish to. For instance, you can use Alpaquita build packs, and then the image is going to build based on Alpaquita, not Ubuntu, right? So, but returning to the question of maintaining these SBOMs, that's quite essential, and that's what we are going to talk about today, is to choose some unified solutions, right? So there are lots of open source tools for SBOM generation, and there are many tools for scanning those SBOMs for vulnerabilities. Right, so because and they need to be used together, right? Because SBOM is a list of dependencies, but then you have to analyze this list, right? You have the list of dependencies with the versions and stuff, and then you have to understand which of the versions is affected by CVEs, if any, right? And that's when vulnerability scanners come into play, and then you just set the scanner loose on the SBOM, not on the project, right? On the SBOM, and it scans the SBOM and provides the information about whether any of the dependencies used in this as listed on this SBOM have any known vulnerabilities or not.
Fantastic.
Right. So, and yeah, that's something that can keep you always informed, right, about the vulnerabilities. And the key here is to use the right tooling again. So there are 3 standard formats for generating SBOMs. So there is SPDX, Software Package Data Exchange by the Linux Foundation. There is Cyclone DX by the OWASP Foundation, right? And OWASP is the Open Worldwide Application Security Project, right? So you might have heard about that, right? So OWASP, there is OWASP top 10 security risks and stuff like that. And there's also the format called Software Identification Tags. And the SBOM should be generated in one of these formats, right? And of course, you should choose the tool that can help you generate the SBOM in this format. And then the scanners, sometimes they are tailored to a specific SBOM generator, right? So, for instance, we're going to discuss today as cdxgen, right? So that's Cyclone DX generator. This tool generates an SBOM, and it works seamlessly with the OWASP dependency scanner, right? There's also Syft, And Syft, by the way, is used under the hood of the packet Buildpacks, right? And that's what we are also going to talk about today. And Syft works seamlessly with the Gripe security scanner, right? And so if you choose Cyclone DX, then you choose, for instance, OWASP, right? If Syft, then Gripe. So you leverage the tooling that best works with each other, right? No, kind of like that. Yeah. So yeah. Before we plunge into actually looking into these tools, and there's going to be lots of code. So one last thing is that the SBOMs are also demanded by some legislations, right? So there is the U.S. Executive Order number 140/28, right? So you can Google it. And this order states that federal agencies require an SBOM for software procurement, right? So if your software product is used by some federal agency, you must provide an SBOM, right? There's also a European Union Cyber Resilience Act, right? So it requires an SBOM for all the software products sold in the European Union. And also, apart from the legislations, big tech companies also demand the SBOMs from vendors before actually signing a contract, right? Because SBOM is an essential component of software supply chain security, right? So if you don't have an SBOM, you don't have the compliance, right? So there's no legislative compliance, and there are some legal and financial risks, right? So you risk to fail an audit if one suddenly comes one day, right? And if you fail an audit, you might be forced to stop operations, or you might be forced to pay a huge fine, right? So that's
A
nasty
lot of
thing.
companies, a lot of organizations, it was a nice to have in years past. And now, for a lot of those same organizations, now it's a must that has real significant consequences if it doesn't exist. So you have to have those SBOMs. You have to be taken care of the compliance level at this point.
Yeah, there's this compliance. And then again, if your customer asks for an SBOM and you have an SBOM, well, you might lose a deal, actually, right?
Yep.
Because again, that's like with the food ingredient, right? If you don't provide the food ingredient, well, maybe
We want to know all the things all the time. We don't want anybody to get sick, right? CVEs, just like an allergy. Like I'm allergic to CVEs. So I don't want any of those inside.
Yeah, exactly.
Sense. This makes sense.
Right.
So, let's jump into some code.
Yeah, exactly.
Show me what you're talking about.
Right. So yeah, stop talking, cat. That's a lot of code. So I think we understood by now, right? So that SBOMs are essential, right? So how do we generate an SBOM? So let me share my screen. Just a second. Right. So it's getting darker here. So maybe I should switch on the easy light. Right. So I'm not home today, so kind of without the familiar background of my library.
I know this. Dude says, "Why a person misses a tool or platform where I can evaluate the sanity of the library that I use or I want to use. Do you have any recommendations?" Yeah, we're going to get into that. So just stay tuned.
Exactly. So that's what we're going to do right now. And yeah, sharing the screen. Okay. Right. Okay. So can you see my screen? Right.
There it is.
Yeah. So I have taken a Spring Boot project. Usually I used to use Pet Clinic for as a demo, but I'm kind of getting tired of Pet Clinic. So
I get it.
yeah, I think sometimes it's cool to show something
switch it up.
else, right? Yeah, just switch it up a little bit. And this one is also a demo project that I have built from the series of tutorials on Spring Modulith, right? So if it's a great project, if you don't know about that, or if you haven't tried it yet, I highly recommend it, because it's super cool, like in a couple of words. So the Spring Monolith helps us to build modular applications. So they behave like monoliths, right? So that's just one jar file. It's going to be one jar file. But the modules are very isolated from each other, like in microservices system. So, and with the modulith, you can structure your project in a very nice and neat way, right? You can structure all your classes, all your packages. And if someday you want to migrate to microservices, it will be easier to divide the monolith into the microservices if you have the modulith, right? Because everything is already sorted. So I have this small project. It has several packages, right? Nothing fancy. The project is called the Beeline, so it's kind of a simulation of delivery service. And it uses several dependencies. So the usual dependencies like the actuator, the JPA, validation, right? So all the stuff that we love Spring Boot for, right? So there are some modulith dependencies. There's the Lombok, because this project was made back in the days when I used Lombok, and now it's kind of like I know it feels like some shameful addiction.
It's okay. It's okay. This is a safe place.
That's okay.
It's okay to use
Well,
Lombok.
yeah. So there's the H2 database just for simplicity's sake, and there's the Mapstruct, the library, the third-party tool, right? The library that helps you to build DTOs. And there's the lib phone number. That's the again also a third-party library by Google that helps you to parse phone numbers. So and this project was built with Spring Boot 3.3. So it's not the freshest version of Spring Boot. And of course, when the new version of Spring Boot comes out, you want to upgrade, right? Because there are new features, stuff like that. Yeah. But I deliberately left it at this version.
So this is
right?
for educational purposes only. Okay, got
Educational purposes. Yeah, educational purposes only. Only that. And you can see now already in the IDE, because IntelliJ IDEA is also a super powerful tool, right? It underlines some dependencies, and it says that there are some vulnerabilities, right? Because, well, the versions are all outdated. So end of story, right? The IDE
highlights
the dependencies with the vulnerabilities. Why would I bother with this SBOM?
There's one,
Well,
right?
because
There's one tool that tells me about the sanity of the libraries that I choose. Like,
yeah,
a
so
lot of
you
times
can,
your IDE will tell you that out of the gate.
yeah, and you can, and that's super cool. So you can already, while you are developing the code, you can already see whether there's something wrong or not with the dependency, and you can change the version, upgrade the version on the fly, or try to look for another library if there is no update available. But IDE is super great, but you can't tell your customer that my IDE told me that there are no CVEs in my dependencies. Well, that's kind of situation it worked on my machine, right?
Yep.
A little bit. So we still need an SBOM, right? Because we need a document. A document is a very important thing, right? It's not a piece of paper, right? Because previously documents were on the paper, but still it's very important. So here it is, a small project, right? Some dependencies, and let's see what we can do. So I'm going to show you today how to use several tools, right? So there are actually lots of them. So there is, again, as I told you, there is the cdxgen. There is Syft, there is Turn, the SBOM generator for containers. There is even the Kubernetes BOM. So that's the tool that helps to generate an SBOM for container images running in Kubernetes. There is the Sneak command line interface. So Sneak is primarily the vulnerability scanner. Well, it has been, but it now is a huge platform with different cool security features. JReleaser and so on and so forth. But I'm going to show you today cdxgen and Syft. So you can use an SBOM as a generator, as a command line tool. You can use it as a Maven plugin. I'm going to show you that too. And Spring Boot provides the way of conveniently using the plugin for SBOM generation, right? And you can also use Buildpacks that will, okay, that's a little bit of a spoiler alert, but the Buildpacks will take care of SBOM generation for you. And there are several stages when you can generate an SBOM. And actually, they're all important, right? So it's not a question of when is it better to generate an SBOM. So you can generate it for the project, right? So when you are already here in the IDE, you can tell the tool, please create an SBOM for this project, and it looks for the Maven or Gradle configuration file and generate an SBOM. You can generate an SBOM for a jar file or for a container image, right? So you have already jar file. For instance, it's a third-party jar or it's your own jar, and you want to get the list of dependencies and components that were used to generate this jar file. So you can do that too. And the information is going to be a little bit different, right? So with a jar file or with a container image, we can get the information about the components that were used to generate the image, right? And with the project, you can get a more comprehensive information, like about licenses, for instance. So ideally, you should combine these two stages. And there's also the build time SBOM generation. So that's when you use the plugin, and when you build the project, the SBOM is generated automatically, right? Which is also very useful. And we are going to look at all these scenarios, and then you do your homework and explore them with your project, and you can compare the SBOM files that you got, right, and see what information is there or if it's absent.
Yeah, there's, when we get into these topics, everyone's like, what's the best one? You got to find what works for you. So we're going to explore a couple of options.
Exactly. So I'm not going to tell you today which of these tools is best, because there's no such answer, right? They are different, right? And even the formats that I told you about, the SPDX and Cyclone DX, these formats are a little bit different. And so you should generate an SBOM in those two formats and compare the information and see which is more vital for your enterprise needs, right? So that's a very use case based scenario, right? So let's use cdxgen first. So you can install it in different ways, right? So you can install it from the npm repository, right? Or you can install it through brew, right? So brew install cdxgen, for instance. Or you can go to the GitHub and look for other ways of installation, like other package managers. If they're provided, I think yes, like Chocolate is the Cayman. Right, but I have already installed it, right? Of course. So I'm not going to do that. And what we're going to do now is let's just right now use this project and tell cdxgen to generate an SBOM for the project, right? So this is the command. That's nothing fancy. That's super simple, right? So we are telling cdxgen T Java. It means that T flag is that we specify the project type. cdxgen supports numerous languages, project types, which is also very convenient. So in this case, we have a Java project, right? So type Java. And the output, so the O flag, is the name of the file that you want to create. So for instance, app bomb cdxgen, right? So for instance, like that. And that's it. So of course, the SBOM generation can take some time, right? Depends on how many dependencies there are in the project. So in this case, I think it's going to be well, quite fast. And we already got the SBOM. So we generated it in the CycloneDX format. So it looks like that. Don't be afraid. So I'll just do it. Yeah. So let's look at that. That's our SBOM. That's a huge file. The format is a JSON, but it can be some other format. So JSON, XML, human readable format. Again, you choose whatever fits best for you. But I think JSON is the most universal format, actually, and most convenient to work with. So CycloneDX, that's the format that we're using, one of the standard formats. The timestamp when the SBOM was generated, right? So information about the project, right? The components. So the project is modular monolith called its version, right? Some properties, dependencies, right? So there are components, and we can see here like dependency Spring Boot starter actuator, right? Its version, whether it's required or not, and it is required. Package URL, right? Again, some properties, and if the dependency depends on other dependencies, let me show you. Depends on, just a sec. This on, right, like that here. So if the dependency used in the code depends on something else, then there's this section called depends on, and the list of all the jars or other dependencies that this one depends on, that this dependency depends on, which is so you create the dependency tree, right? So there are direct dependencies that are used in a project and indirect dependencies that are used by the dependencies used directly in your project, right?
Dependencies all the way down. Dependencies of the dependencies.
Yeah, dependencies of the dependencies, and that's okay. That's okay. That might be quite a lot of information, but it's essential, right? It's very essential. That's what we are doing. That we're listing the ingredients, and if there are some ingredients used to create this ingredient, right? So we have to list them too, because again, if wheat was used in some of the ingredients,
wheat flour in ketchup, I can't have that.
You can you imagine? I'm quite shocked. So of
Unacceptable.
course, I have to know that. I have to know whether wheat was used at any of the stages of the production, right? For me, that's essential. That's my health, and of course, I have to watch it. And so this dependency tree gives me what I want in a software product, right? So I get the data on everything. So if it doesn't depend on anything, then well, nothing, right? So and that's this whole cool stuff. So the whole list. If you have noticed, although I have been scrolling quite fast, there's no information about the licenses, right? So see, none. But licenses are quite important. That's also quite important information for an SBOM. And in some cases, especially if we're talking about legal compliance, it should be included. Of course, we can do that with the cdxgen. So by default, it doesn't include the license information because to gather the information about package licenses, well, it is quite a time-consuming operation, right? So it's disabled by default, but we can enable it, right? So we can say export fetch license true, right? So and now if we create the SBOM with licenses, this time with licenses, this information is going to be there, right? So it will take a little bit more time, just be patient. Yeah. And we can see how it is included and whether it is included, should be, right? So just a minute, and
it's taking a little bit longer, clearly.
It is, yes, because well, the tool queries public registries like Maven, for instance, to get information about the package licenses. Of course, it takes time, right? But it's worth it. It's worth it. So while it's still being generated, oh yeah, it is. Okay, so Catherine, stop chatting. So here it is, our SBOM with dependencies. So let me just reformat the code. And so now if we look into C, that's it, right? So we have components and we now have information about the licenses, right? So there's the Spring Boot actuator, for instance, and the license Apache 2, right? And so on for all the dependencies, right? Apache, again, well, most of the time it's Apache. But as you can see, right, so we have, oh, here's all the EPL on. That's kind of cool. LTPL also. You get all that information for all the components. Isn't that super cool?
That is amazing.
I mean, yeah. And it's also essential for you because you don't run into risk of using some license that you don't want to use, right? So you can keep track of that.
Yeah, if you're selling software or publishing software, you've got to be careful about which license so you don't, burn the house down, right?
Yeah,
got to make sure you're following the rules. The licenses are there for a reason. Open source doesn't mean free to use in all the places all the time. And a lot of people have made that mistake in the past. So this is just a good way of checking your stats. Go ahead and check, make sure that you're compliant. Having that is important. Simon says, on a related note, how do you feel about consumer POMs? And I don't know that I have a strong opinion on consumer POMs. I don't come across that concept very often. So I think that might be something that we should have a conversation about. Consumer POMs. Do you have any opinions on consumer POMs?
Well, I'm
topic I don't know a lot about. Yeah. So Simon, that's you're piquing my interest here. I like this space. So yeah, I'm going to circle back on that. And Dude says, I use SBOMs in dependencytrack.org to have a nice overview about the health project. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. That's something I'll have to take a look at.
Cool. Yeah. Right. So, of course, we can use cdxgen to generate SBOMs for container images or jar files. And let's try this one with the jar file, right? Because before we go any further, so I already have here a jar file generated, right? And so in this case, it's going to be a different type. So type jar this time. And I'm just going to give it another name, like jar file. And yeah, so let's see what's going to create. And while we wait, so what I'm going to show you now after that is how to use Syft, right? So we're going to use Syft to scan the jar file. You already know how it looks with the project, right? So we are not going to repeat the process for every SBOM generator, right? So it's kind of the same. Okay. So we're going to analyze the jar file, the container image. So I'm going to show you that, and then we are going to move further to the plugins, right? To the Maven plugin to generate an SBOM at build time, and I'll show you how convenient it is with Spring Boot. Right, so still being generated. And then Buildpacks. Well, I love Buildpacks, actually, and this cool SBOM feature that I'm going to show you at the end, right? So I have kept it for dessert. It just makes me love Buildpacks even more. Right, so, and here it is, the SBOM for a jar file, right? So it looks, well, kind of the same, mostly. So if you are interested, you can try cdxgen with your project, and you can try it with the project and with the jar file. You can compare, right? So whether there are any differences. So we are not going to delve on that, well, right now, because we don't have that much time. Yeah, but
and with Spring Boot 3.3, we actually made it so that you could expose that SBOM as an actuator endpoint. So you could have the SBOM information live on an actuator endpoint for your applications that are running in production. So you didn't have to store them somewhere. You could just have a catalog that's real time, the latest and greatest SBOM information at runtime.
Yeah. So that's cool. And I'm going to show you that too. That's very convenient. Again, there's only one dependency that you need, the Spring Boot actuator, which is over here in this project, and it is quite possibly that it's already there in your project, right? Because it's super useful.
It should be. If it's not, it should be.
Oh yeah, that's that. Yeah,
the
that's.
Actuators should, for every Spring Boot project, I feel like the actuators just should be there automatically.
Yeah. Right. So now let's try Syft. That's another SBOM generator. Right. So again, you can get it directly from the site, right? Or you can, as far as I remember, it's available with Brew too. Yeah. So there you can do that, like Brew install Syft and other package managers, right? So Syft is another very good software BOM materials generator. It can generate an SBOMs in several formats. So Cyclone DX, SPDX, and its own format, Syft format, which provides even more information, but you can convert it to the standard format, right? So if you create an SBOM in a Syft format, you get lots of information, but you can convert the file into another format, right? So that's kind of easy. So we are going to create an SBOM for a jar file. It's almost the same. The process is almost the same, right? So we're saying Syft. You don't have to specify the project type, right? Because it uses Java. It works with Java. And then you specify the output. And here you specify both the format and the name of the file, right? So the format that we're using now is Cyclone DX JSON, right? And the name of the file is SBOM Syft. Nothing fancy, right? So it can be it's not only JSON, it's also human readable format, XML, and so on and so forth. So you can read the docs, right, to find out more about that. But we are doing that with the JSON. So you can see that I already did that. And there's some information about the packages that I found. So here it's our SBOM Syft. Let me see. Oops. Yeah. Right. So basically, almost the same, right? So here we have information about the tool that we used, right? And yeah, the information about
includes the license information.
Let me see if it includes this by default.
Yeah.
F license. Yep. So Syft includes the licenses information by default, right? So with cdxgen, you have to enable it explicitly, but here in this case, you will always get the licensing information.
Now, I'm curious to go off script here. If you do a diff between the SBOM Syft JSON and the AppBOM CDX with license.
Okay, so let's do that. Like that, yeah. So okay, so it's going to be a thunderstorm, I guess. The lightning's scary. Syft JSON, and again the name is AppBOM. Okay, I think I should have created shorter names for those bombs. cdxgen JSON.
Oh, put that license.
Sorry?
We want AppBOM cdxgen -license.
Oh yeah. The licenses. With the licenses. Yeah. Okay. What? AppBOM CDX.
Yep. US says you could also select both of the files
Yeah,
of
so
IntelliJ,
maybe
and
I'm,
right click and then compare in IntelliJ.
oh, so selecting the
Select that
file.
one and then do the, yep. And then right
Yeah,
click.
and compare files. Yeah. Ooh,
Yep.
cool.
And then we'll see
Okay.
what you get. Okay, some things we expect to be different. Oh, so the order is not going to be the same. So even though it might have the same information, the order of the document might not be the same. Is
Interesting.
what I'm getting.
Right.
Okay. I was just curious. That was one thing I was curious to see if two different tools would generate the same file. And obviously there's differences, but we might have the same output, but it might not be in the same order. So dependencies might not have been put out in the same order. Which that makes sense. So
Yeah.
okay, I was just curious.
Cool. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Nice that we checked that. Okay, right. So and now let's use it with the container image. So I have a container image in my Docker Hub repository. So and I'm going to use that. So it's like a super old container image. Maybe it's like 3 years old. I have totally forgotten about that. I have generated it and I forgot about that. So I think it's crawling with the vulnerabilities by now. Right. So what we do now here, we say Syft, and then you point to the container image, right? So you're specifying its name or repository and its name, right? If it's in the repository. And again, the same output line that we saw, right? So there's the cyclone.json, the format that we prefer this time, and the name SBOM Syft. Let's do that with the OC, like container image. Okay, so right, and we are saving all these SBOMs for later, right? So I think it's going to rain. I love. Dashan, do you like thunderstorms? Hey there.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Sorry. I love them. I absolutely love them. And one
Where are you at
is
right now? You're not at home.
in Almaty, Kazakhstan.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's going to be a great thunderstorm. All right. Anyway, we already have the SBOM while I was dreaming away. Let's open it. Okay. Right. So here I expect to see some information about the components that we use to build the container image. And here it is. Right. So we have Alpaca Linux with the Liberica JRE. That's the one I used as the base image for this container. Right. Some other components and so on and so forth. Right. So and there's license again too. So that's well, kind of maybe the same information again, but you can compare it.
Yep.
But yeah.
Right.
So
There's two different things here, right? The layers of that OCI image, all the things that go into that OCI image. That's
yeah,
layered on the file system, and then inside of the jar file, we want to know all the dependencies there. And you can even go beyond that, right? Beyond the jar file, beyond the image that jar file gets delivered in. Then what about where that's running, right? You talked about the Kubernetes mod, like where is that running? What about all the things that are in that system? The Kubernetes or the Cloud Foundry or the bare metal machine, the operating system that's hosting those things. You want to be able to have this not just for your job applications, but somewhere in the enterprise, somebody hopefully has that list of all the things all the way down for all the software everywhere. That's an important piece.
Exactly. Yeah. So and of course, as I said in the beginning, information is going to be slightly different, right? Because well, the jar file is not the same as the bare metal project, and that's not the same as the container image, right? So there are different components used to well in building the jar file or in the container image, right? So we can get information about all of those things. So that was the command line interface, which is great, right? So you can generate an SBOM on the fly, right, while you code. But in many cases, you want to generate an SBOM when you are done with coding and when you're ready to build the project, right? And so in this case, you can use the Maven or Gradle plugin. So I'm going to show you the Maven plugin, but with Gradle, that's the same. That's the same plugin, but if you work with Gradle, you know how to work with that. Yeah. So we need the plugin. If you don't use Spring Boot, or if you use the Spring Boot of earlier versions, earlier than 3.3, you can use, just a second, the plugin called Cyclone DX, Maven plugin, right? And it's going to be in the build section. So when you add this plugin, every time you rebuild your project, the SBOM is going to be generated. But as we are using Spring Boot, and as we are using Spring Boot, in this case 3.3 or later, which you should be, then you can use this plugin as part of the Spring Boot ecosystem, and you don't have to, in this case, specify the version of the plugin, right? Because Spring Boot does it for you. Yeah, so in this case, that's the same plugin, right? But without the version, because it's part of the Spring Boot ecosystem. And so now, if we do Spring Boot Maven clean package, for instance, and just skip that. Oh, I don't need a native image right now. No, thank you. Although that's fun. I think you can generate an SBOM for when you're building native image too. I think. Oh, because
Yes, you can.
Why not? Because well, you're building a project, right? So you analyze all the components and dependencies, and you create an SBOM, and then you go on with creating a native executable. So that would be natural. All right. Main clean package. Just keep. Right. So as you can already see, right? So the Cyclone DX. Oops. Yeah, because the tests failed. Tests failed. That's okay. That's okay. I just used the wrong command for skipping the test, which is kind of fun because I use it all the time. But I get how you write it. Well, I have a memory of a fruit fly, so bear with me. Okay. So yeah, as you can see, right? So the Cyclone DX plugin is at work. So it's creating the SBOM. We can see that in the output while we're building the jar file. And the jar file is ready. Right. And yeah, so the jar file is ready, and it is nested in the target classes meta-inf, SBOM, application, CDX, JSON. So, and here
because
it is.
that gets put in the resource class path there, then we can pull it up at runtime.
Yeah.
So that'll get included. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So it is. Here it is. So we have built the container image, and now we have the SBOM together with it, right? So
that seems like such a great idea. Like, why not just deliver that information with all the libraries, all the things you're taking to production? Deliver that information. That's a great idea.
Yeah, yeah, and then when you run the jar file, right? Remember I mentioned the Spring Boot actuator. So you can point to the SBOM, right? So the endpoint is going to be our endpoint that's going to be exposed on the web, and well, by default, I use just health just to verify that the project that the jar is running, the application is running. But in this case, we can specify the SBOM, and when we run our jar file, we can see that we can analyze our SBOM on the web on this endpoint. So Java jar, what's the name of my copy path target? Okay, good jar. Okay, so starting, and the curious thing is that the monolith project starts in a little bit different way than the regular monolith. So okay, the application has started. Let's go to localhost 80 actuator. So that's health.
Oh,
right?
I don't see your screen. I'm only seeing
Oh,
your ID.
you see my screen. Okay, just a sec. Okay, can I? Okay, so let me just present again. Share the screen. Okay, like that. Okay, it's localhost actuator. So that's the health, right? So the status is up, and now you can see that right now.
Yep.
Oops, sorry. That was something I didn't expect. Why didn't it find the page? Right. Maybe I'm running the wrong jar file.
Yeah, maybe you're in the wrong jar file.
Yeah, possibly. Hopefully. All right. So let's see this one. Let's target. It's raining. Okay.
This is fantastic. Simon, thanks for that. Yes, the software composition analysis. You want to have these types of tools in place, and there's lots of ways to do it. There's lots of ways to get this information. So now I'm curious. For the people that are watching it, I'm curious what tools they're using for their scans, what tools they're using, in this space to keep track of is their software up to date on the latest and greatest.
Okay, that's odd. Okay, that's okay.
Is it supposed to be at API actuator?
Well, actually, I know it's there, right? So that's it.
Or is it just slash actuator?
Oh, maybe.
Slash SBOM?
Well, I don't know. I think it's actuator / SBOM. So I think it's correct. So API. Oh yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah. So silly me. Right. So you can see here the endpoint actuator SBOM, and we have the application, the SBOM for the application. So you can go further, right? So past this ID of the SBOM, which was application, and here it is, the SBOM file, right? On the web.
That's great. At runtime.
So yeah,
all the things.
Which is cool. Yeah, just super cool. Okay, so let's go back. I think maybe I need to share the whole screen because maybe. Okay, let's just share the whole screen. Share. All right. So that was it. That was the Maven plugin, right? And now we are moving to the Buildpacks.
I like
when you use
Buildpacks.
the container image is Command L, Control. Sorry. Sorry. What am I doing? No, just a sec. Oh no, because I'm not in the terminal. Right. What was I saying? I was talking about Buildpacks. Right. So when you use Buildpacks, you can generate the container image with only one command, right? And you don't have to specify anything. The build packs take care of everything. The build packs will create a layer jar, right? The build packs will use the JDK for building the project and JRE for running the project. And by the way, build packs use Liberica JDK by default, right? Which is super cool. I'm happy about that. Right. So, and at the end, you get a production ready container image. And the command is like super simple. Maven spring boot build image. And let me just comment out this dependency here now to show you that right now we don't have anything in our pom.xml that says we want to generate an SBOM. Okay, so let's run this command and build the container image using Buildpacks. What is it? Oh, because again the tests, Gosh,
Those pesky tests. We're professionals here. We don't need tests. I'm just kidding. This is educational purposes only. Make sure you have tests. Run your tests.
Yeah, well, I know why is that, because I migrated to H2 database instead of Postgres for simplistic sake, so that you could just run the project but the tests are still for Postgres, so that's why it doesn't find the dependency for Postgres. That's okay. Right, I will fix that later, but for now we're going to skip the tests. Okay, so the generation of the container image takes time. So while we wait, let's take a look at what's going on under the hood, because Buildpacks do their magic, right? So there is the analyzing phase, detecting, restoring, right? So if there was previously the container image built using Buildpacks, then it's going to pull it from the cache, at least those layers that weren't changed, right? We can configure.
I noticed the Syft Buildpack was one of the ones that was being used.
Yeah, you already mentioned. You already saw that, right? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it is. Here it is. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, and it's restoring data just because I've been practicing for the live stream. So I've built the container image, and so it's restoring the data right from the cache because it already has. But if it didn't have it, well, it would just create an SBOM from scratch. So don't worry. But the point is that the SBOM is generated automatically with Buildpacks. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to specify anything. Maybe even if you don't want an SBOM in your container image, you will get one. So it's kind of like.
And we've been getting that for years.
Yeah.
Without having to think about it, we've been getting these SBOMs for years because the platforms that we run these things on, they want that. They want to know the platform owners, those platform engineers. They don't want exposure. They don't want risk running on their platform. So they use the SBOMs that are contained in these Buildpack generated images. They use that to check the health of their system, to maintain the health of their system.
Exactly. And so you will get an SBOM. And the beautiful thing is that you're not simply getting an SBOM. You're getting an SBOM for all the layers of the container image, right? So a very complete information about the resulting container image, which is super cool. So our container image is ready, and it contains the SBOM, right? It contains the SBOM information. You can send it down the pipeline, and it's going to be there. The SBOM is going to be there. And every time you rebuild the project, if you add a new dependency, or if you remove a dependency or anything, right, the SBOM is going to be generated anew, right? So it's also going to be updated, which is super cool, I think, right? So, yeah, so the SBOM is there. How can we get it? Right? So, well, the purpose of the SBOM is to be analyzed, right, and evaluated. And if it's there in the container image, and because it is created for all the layers of the container image, it's not just one file, it's a set of files. The SBOMs is a set of SBOMs that are somewhere there in the container image, and you're not going to, well, that's going to be very weird if you would want to start the container image and then navigate through its layers to scratch out all the SBOMs that are there. That's really, really weird kind of a situation. No, we are going to do it, well, in a very, very good practical way. We are going to extract the SBOMs from the container image using the pack utility. So yeah, you can use pack to generate a container image if you don't want to use the plugin, right? And this pack is also used to download the SBOM from the container image, right? So, and it is, you can easily install it via different ways. So it's in Brew, I guess, too. So Brew install pack and other package managers, and or you can directly from the site, install it directly from the site. So I already have it. So what I do now is I say pack SBOM download. Oh, just a sec. Just verify whether it's. I have a little note for myself so that I don't forget something. Right, just a sec. I just packs bomb. Yeah, that's correct, because I wondered for a moment whether it's pack downloads bomb. No, it's pack is bomb download, and then you point to the the file, right? And let's wait a bit.
So the pack CLI, something that's been around for a long time, and that's used with Buildpacks, this new version of Buildpacks. And right now it's just going to pull, that's one of the commands it has. It can inspect those images and it can tell you which Buildpacks were used to generate the image. So you get a lot of really cool stuff. Pack inspect is another tool that I use a lot.
Yeah, so, and it's already there. So this folder that was just created, it's called layers. And it contains the subdirectory SBOM, the launch, and you can see here the number of SBOMs for various components that were used to create this container image. Can you see that? There are lots of.
That's fantastic.
Lots of SBOMs, right?
That's
for every layer, for Liberica, for the certificates, for Spring Boot. So, and of course you can inspect them. So there are two types of packages. There's a CDX format, right? This one that is the standard one, the Cyclone GX. And some SBOMs are generated in the Syft format. So it's also a JSON file. And you might not notice the difference, but because the difference is in the fields or in the way they're arranged. So, but you can convert, right, the Syft format to Cyclone GX format, right?
That's good to know.
Yeah, and all the others, right, in CDX. So that is or SPDX. Well, that's I see it kind of as area for improvement, because as you can see, the SBOMs were generated in different formats, and it would be better if you had all your SBOMs in one format, right? Because this whole process should be standardized, right? And the standard means that we have one format that we use, or one tool that we use, right, throughout the whole life cycle of our application. So here, that's cool that we have all those SBOMs, but it would be wonderful if they all were in one format, right? But I'm sure that one day they're going to be unified. So right now, that's what we have, and that's already great, right? It's already great. So, and the last thing, oops, sorry, my ID went to sleep suddenly. Okay, I hope it wakes up in a second. So the last thing I wanted to show you, because we've been here for a long time, but we have looked at different tools, right, and different ways of SBOM generation. And I hope you won't leave this live stream hungry. But the last thing I wanted to show you today is how to analyze these SBOMs for vulnerabilities, right? Because what we have right now is just a list of dependencies with the versions, with lots of valuable information, but there's no information on CVEs, right? And so that's another tool that we should use. Okay, just a second. Let me talk to my IDE, seriously. Like, we need to have a conversation, my dear IDE. Why do you keep freezing? That's so frustrating. Right. Just a sec. I don't know why. It's
I'm usually I don't have as many folks that come in that we get spam, and today we've been on long enough. Got enough people that we had spam happening. That's amazing. So I know I have to. I was just going and kicking out the spammers, but yeah, things are going great.
Oh, that's good or that's bad? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, for the big time streamers, it's bad, but for me, it's like, what? I have spam in my chat? That's amazing.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Can you see my? Yeah, you can.
Yes, got it.
All right. So we have loads of SBOMs. Yeah. And what we want to do now is to run a vulnerability scanner on an SBOM, right? To see whether there are any vulnerabilities and see whether the scanner can find them. So, and that's also one of the reasons why I left here all those outdated dependencies. Because well, that would be, of course, super cool if we received the result of the scanning with the words "there were no clues found." Right? That's our dream. That's what
That'd be
we are
great.
striving.
Yep.
Right? That would be great. But in this case, I would have nothing to show you. So I needed those CVE infected dependencies. Okay, so
Education purposes only.
yeah, only that. So after the live stream, I'm updating all of that. There are going to be no CVEs in my projects. No, and not in yours. Right? So after the live stream, go and get yourself an SBOM. Run a vulnerability scanner.
Yep.
All the tools, right? All the
I
code.
think as a developer, though, I think that's like, I didn't have all the tools. I just kind of had to trust like what was coming and look for the new releases. And sometimes there's going to be CVEs and there's no patch yet. Okay? And you still need to have a system that says when that patch is available, I need to bring it on as fast as I can. There's sometimes it's out of your control. You don't want to be spending a bunch of time, patching CVEs for all of the dependencies that you're pulling in. Again, we're assembling software here. So, but you have to have a system. You have to have a system in place for reducing the amount of time that those things are, at risk, that you're being exposed.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Dashan, for mentioning it, because it's a very important point, right? Sometimes there are CVEs and we can't do anything about them. Sometimes in rare situations when there's no patch available, there's no update available yet, and there's no substitution. So we can't substitute this dependency right now. And yes, this CVE is going to be there for some time, but you still have to list it, right? So if it is found, then you provide the information that in this project there is this CVE, right? And you provide the means of well, maybe remediation if there are any, or at least you provide this information, because the user, the consumer, has to know whether there's anything or not, right? So of course it's okay if there's again, going back to gluten, it's totally okay sometimes if there's wheat, like I know in pizza, okay, that's a bad example because well, in some products it's okay, right? It doesn't mean that's a bad product, right? But it's just that I can't use it because this ingredient is important to me, right? And that's kind of a care about our users, right? So the users, the customers, can make an informed decision when they have all the information on their hands. And that's the same for you, because you can make an informed decision if you work with a vendor and it provides an SBOM, right? And you can see everything that's there in this product. You can make an informed decision whether to use this product or not, whether to work with this vendor or not. But if you work with a vendor and they don't provide an SBOM, right? And if you ask, okay, can you please give me an SBOM? No, we don't do that. That's the moment you should be suspicious, right? Because, well, the list of ingredients should be there. And if the vendor doesn't provide it or refuses to provide it, well, that's kind
Yeah,
of suspicious.
Dude was asking that question earlier. He's like, how do I know if I want to trust this project? I saw it on Blue Sky. Somebody was using this product. How do I know if I want to use it? Well, you could look at the SBOM. You could do a little bit of diligence on the SBOM and decide. And if there's no SBOM, then maybe that's a signal.
Yes, exactly. Maybe it's a sign that maybe you shouldn't use this project, right? So yeah, to cut it short, dependency, CVEs might be there sometimes, but what we need is to be informed, right? We need to be informed. We need to provide the information. So right, back to our project. Okay, so you saw there are dependencies with vulnerabilities. Let's see whether the vulnerability scanners that we are going to use now can identify them. Yeah. So first of all, we are going to use the WASP dependency scan. This is the tool that works seamlessly with cdxgen. Right, so you can install it through the Python repository. Somehow it's only there. I don't know why, but it's only there. Just do that. Just install Python and install Python repository and install OWASP depscan. Right, that's
so for
something.
these dependency scanners, we talked about the OWASP scanner. We talked about Sneak. We mention Gripe and Trivy?
Yeah, Gripe and Trivy. Yeah. So these are also the vulnerability scanners, right? And again, just like with the SBOM generator, there is no best solution, right? And there is no one size fits all. Just like well, it's just like always in software, right? Try them all, right? When you have some free time, a coffee break, try some tool, right? See what it gives you, right? See its value that it provides, and then you can make the decision, right? So
Ram
this case,
Iyengar is here. Hi, Ram. Wonderful to see you today.
right. So in this case, I'm showing you two tools, not because they're the best, because, well, they are common, and that's well, just something that I have chosen, right? So it doesn't mean that they're the best. All right. So when you install the dependency scan, well, you can, of course, create the environmental variable to point to the path to the tool, but I was super lazy. So I didn't do that, and so and that's the whole path. It's in the Python, right? And here it is, the depscan. So then you specify the flag, the bomb, and the name of the SBOM file that we want to scan. And in our case, it's going to be app bomb cdxgen. JSON and reports directory. So it's going to generate this directory in the root directory of the project, right? Okay, so that's it. Nothing fancy, right? So you are pointing to the SBOM, and that's it. The tool does the whole heavy lifting for you. So
that's cool. And developers, I think maybe it's a good idea, a good recommendation for developers. Do this every once in a while. I'm not saying you have to do it all the time. Like especially if you're doing something new or you're pulling in a new library, like have these tools, but don't make this a part of your inner loop cycle. Tools like this should be a part of your pipeline. Somewhere in your path of production, you should have tools like this to protect not just you, your enterprise, but also the people that are using your systems. But also, I think it might be a good idea to have some of these tools that you're comfortable with, so you can do these analysis on new things, right? So you can decide whether or not, hey, I'm introducing this new library. Is that okay? Take a little bit of effort. Use these tools. Get some practice. It'll help you.
Exactly. And oh, here it is. Wow. See? So we're going to look now at the file too, but it also gives a nice terminal output. You see, and here at least the dependencies, the insights, right? So whether it's a direct or indirect dependency. At least if applicable, it lists the version where this CVE was fixed, right? So in this case, we have the CVE in Tomcat, right? And the fixed version is 10.1.35. Yeah, and it also lists the severity of the CVE. So this one is critical, right? And it's like highlighted in red and has 9, score of 9, which is like really super important to fix. Yeah. Then there are indirect dependencies, and it also it scans also the indirect dependencies too that were provided in the SBOM, and it gives the information about CVEs in indirect dependencies, which is super cool, right? Also the level, the fixed version, right, and so on. So that's it, and the recommendation also. So 7 out of 13 dependencies vulnerabilities requires your attention. And so you can update all the packages, right, using the fixed version. That is very convenient, right? Because this information is very it accelerates the process or remediation process, right? So you have the CVE and you don't have to manually go search for the fixed version, right? You already know which one.
Now, you just pointed out to me recently, I had customers asking me about, what about this specific version? The cool thing is, when using Spring Boot, you have a parent POM, and that parent POM provides you a release train. So it's not just going to fix that one version. I don't want you to go and fix just that one version and add a dependency. Fix the parent POM, change that parent POM to 3.4.4, and you're going to get a bunch of those things fixed because they're in the latest release train.
Yeah.
That's a huge benefit.
And you can see the 2 files that were generated, right? So HTML report, the dependencies, kind of similar to what we've seen in the terminal. And there's also the JSON, right? So let me reformat it, right? The JSON file with the dependencies. I guess I accidentally deleted some bracket, so red. It shouldn't be. It's not usually that red. But anyway, right? You can see the IDE of the CVE, right? The version of the package that is used now, the fixed version, severity, and some other important information like the URLs where this CVE is listed or described. Yeah. So that was OWASP dependency scan. Yeah. And
Ram asks a question. Ram says, "Hey, is there a GitHub action for this? Can I add this as part of my workflow?" Yes. Right?
Yes.
This dependency scan. You can go install it. You can add it to your GitHub workflows. I'd be surprised if there wasn't a GitHub action for it automatically or already available. But yes, go add it to your workflows.
That's exactly what I was going to say right now. Thank you, Ram. So yes, you have the GitHub actions for these tools. And for instance, here is the link. I'm sending it to Rashan. Could you please send it to the chat? So that's the link to the GitHub action for the Gripe tool, which I'm going to show you now. So Gripe works seamlessly with Syft. Yeah, so we have a Syft generated SBOM. We can use Gripe with it, and that's the GitHub action my God, I'm lost between all of my. Yeah, so that's it, right? And of course, you can scan the project locally for vulnerabilities. And there are also plugins, IntelliJ IDEA plugins. Like, for example, I used to use Sneak plugin for IntelliJ IDEA that you can run with your project and see whether there are any vulnerabilities, known vulnerabilities in the dependencies. But the whole point is to manage this process through the whole life cycle of your application, right? So, and if we generate an SBOM somewhere at the build stage, it would be logical, right, to scan this SBOM for vulnerabilities at the same stage, right, at the build stage. And if you're using GitHub Actions, you can generate an SBOM as part of the GitHub Actions workflow, and you can scan this file for vulnerabilities using GitHub Actions, right? Which is just totally cool, right? And you have this release of your application only with the necessary information required. Yeah. So that's it. And yeah, gripe. Okay, I'm in the terminal. So let me clear the output. All right. So the last tool that we are going to look at today is gripe. I already told you. There's this app SBOM Syft that's for the container. Oh yeah, I guess we can use this one. Why not? Right? My 3-year-old container. Let's see what kind of vulnerabilities it finds there. So the process is quite simple, right? So we say gripe. So you install the tool. If you're using it locally, say SBOM, and then you point to the SBOM file. In this case, it's app SBOM Syft OCI, right? So remember that this was the SBOM we generated for the container image, right? Okay. So it's running. And of course, while it's running, there are, again, other tools for SBOM generation, right? So I have shown you a couple of them, right? But you can do the research if you're not satisfied with the tools that we released today, and you can look for something else, right? So you're quite flexible here, and there are lots of tools. Yeah, likely. So, well, I told you that the container image is 3 years old, and that's the list of all the vulnerabilities found. Look at that.
Here's the thing I like to say is, like, software is soft for a reason. It's soft because we know that we're going to make changes to it. If we weren't going to make changes to it, we'd make it hardware. But it's soft, and it takes some care and feeding. And when you take it to production, nobody wants to take CVEs to production. But sometimes you take software to production and there's 0 CVEs at that point, and the CVEs come later. And you've got to be aware. So it's not just about the path to production. It's also about, once you're in production, being able to maintain that software and knowing the real estate, what's going on, what's still in production, what's expired, what needs to be thrown out. That's another important part.
Yeah. So as you can see, if if you don't update your container images, that's quite a nasty list, right? Lots of them here. Some of them are quite critical, right? And again, so it lists the name of the package, the vulnerable package, the version, whether it found the version was fixed in the vulnerability, the type. So in this case, there are lots of vulnerabilities in the Linux layer, right? The name of the vulnerability and its severity. Yeah. So, and that was gripe. Yeah, you can use it with any SBOM generated by Syft, and you will get the similar result. Yeah, and you can write the output to the file, of course. Right? So not just in the terminal. So I guess that's it.
This is great. You
Yeah.
showed us a lot of great tools. As always, you do such good demos. my wheels are turning. I want to go in and update some of my pipelines. And I like to use Concourse. I like to have centralized, CI, CD, and CM, continuous migration. And yeah, thank you for all of this great stuff. Apologies to everybody for getting started late, but I think we made up for it. This is
Yeah,
fantastic.
sorry guys. Sorry guys. I hope you found this live stream useful and worth the wait, worth the 20 minutes late. So sorry. I promise I won't do that again. Right,
Good.
and I've sent the link to the article that describes the SBOM generation tools mentioned today. So you can use copy and paste examples of the code. Yeah, and follow the links to the tools and explore them on your own. So yeah.
Wonderful.
Guess that's it. Yeah. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I'll look forward to the next one. We'll get it scheduled soon. And everybody, thanks so much. We'll see you in production.
Friends. Yeah, thank you. Until next time.